All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. All right, my brothers and sisters over at YouTube. Well, for those of us who build, and we're definitely interested in doing it, and we do it for a living as well. I think it was maybe like a month or so ago, I spoke to you and I said that lumber prices will be coming down in the summer, and I also mentioned maybe the first part of fall. But the way things are going, lumber futures, it looks like for all intents and purposes, and I'm going to include a link down below so that y'all see where I get some of my information from. Now, I can tell you right now that here at Straitway, we buy just a little bit here and there and here and there, but we're not going to sit up there and submit to the powers that be and go out and buy all this lumber, thereby, at these exorbitant prices, and then just flat out losing money. I mean, I can't fathom paying 4 and 5, 6 times for the amount of lumber just in order to build a home or build a roof, or put a roof on a house or a roof on a garage or whatever. But anyway, I'm over here on Zero Hedge right now, and the headline says lumber prices record biggest weekly drop ever as supplies increase. Now, you think about this for a second. Now, I'm often either in Home Depot or Lowe's. And I don't care if I'm mostly in Kentucky or Tennessee. I don't care which one I go to. When you go in there, you don't see no shortage of lumber. I remember about this time last year, you couldn't find a decking board nowhere. And now I don't care where you go, you see decking board. You see lumber, as a matter of fact, it is literally to the ceiling. And I guarantee you they have stopped them trucks from supplying the stores. Now, one of the cashiers, I didn't take it personally. They didn't know nothing. People are buying. They don't know nothing. They really, truly don't know. But when you go there, either one of those stores, all you see is a surplus of lumber. All right? So, this is what's being reported over here on Zero Hedge. And I'm going to read this, and I'm going to include a link down below. And, of course, my personal suggestion is if you can hold off on making a big lumber supply or a big lumber purchase, try to hold off until like maybe somewhere along about the end of July, maybe about the 1st of August, and I'll continue to keep you up to date. And I told you lumber prices was falling. I went in there the other day and saw 2x4s was down $1 already, and that's still extraordinary high. But look what it says. It says right here. It says lumber futures on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange posted their largest ever weekly loss, extending a multi-week decline. Notice it's a multi-week decline as sawmill output increases and buyers hold off on purchases, according to Bloomberg. Notice buyers are holding off on purchases. On Friday, lumber futures fell 5.61% to $1,059.20 per thousand board feet. For the week, prices plunged 18%, the most significant decline since 1986. 1 year before the 1987 stock market crash, which, and I'm probably going to talk about that too, because the way things are looking right now, if y'all remember the stock market crash or the housing market crash in 2008, it looks like the environment is ripe for that about right now too. But anyway, and you have to understand, I have 10 communities that I oversee, and we buy an extraordinary amount of building material. So I have to keep up on stuff like this because I'm trying to stretch our Federal Reserve note that we have as far as I can. And everybody on the community, especially the heads of the community, they pay particular attention to what I'm saying. And so we may have to just be disciplined. I mean, maybe go fishing more often or do something, but anything besides spend all of our hard-earned money on paying these exorbitant prices. So anyway, It goes on to say that lumber prices have crashed 40% from the record high in May of around, check this one out, $1,711. $1,711. So it's down to $1,059.20 per thousand board foot. And the high was $1,711. And it's going to continue to keep going down. It says that lumber prices have catapulted into the stratosphere in the last year, hitting renovators, home builders, buyers, and everyone else extremely hard. The National Association of Home Builders has noted lumber prices have added at least, look at this, $36,000 to the cost of a new single family home. Wow. You think about that. That's a lot of, you could do a whole lot with, matter of fact, with $36,000, you could pave a decent driveway. But anyway, for the last several months, we have warned about the pernicious effects of soaring prices on consumers. For instance, the University of Michigan Economics Settlement Survey shows the number of people who say it's a good time to purchase a house has collapsed. And why would they? Even if the other day, I'm going to show you what type of stuff that I do, okay? I'm going to stop here just for a second because I want to try to bring clarity, and I want you all to understand that when I'm speaking from experience and investigation. And what I mean is that the other day I went to look and see what trailer prices were. All right, they had a trailer on a lot, pretty decent size. They had a certain price, and then they had pretty much almost the exact same trailer parked adjacent to the trailer I just got finished looking at, and this trailer was $30,000 more. And the only reason why that trailer was $30,000 more is because the prices of lumber. So what's going to have to happen is that Home Depot, Lowe's, all these different trailer places, trust places, all these people is getting ready to get in competition, because I understand. See, I know what happens. They don't go and buy lumber by the board foot the way that we do. They buy it based on the futures market, and they buy it way off in the future. They buy it, and what they do is they buy a big old bulk and they pay for it all at once, and then they set the price for the consumers. And it's just kind of like gas. They may have bought the gas. You've seen all these gas prices just literally go through the roof, right? So you may have seen, they may have bought gas, let's say at $1.50 a gallon, okay? Or let's say $1 a gallon. But as soon as they turn around and say gas shortage, act of God, natural disaster, first thing they do is do what? They pump it up. They pump up the price. Pop, 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 pop. They keep on pumping it. Why are they pumping this stuff? Because they're trying to take advantage of our disadvantage. It's like when a hurricane comes up the East Coast or is burning up on the West Coast in California. No matter what takes place, the people who owns these businesses, they're trying to maximize and get as much money as they can, even if they have to maximize and get as much money as they can off of your hurt and your pain and your discomfort. You go to a hotel room, all right, normally it will cost you $70, $80, $90. Now it's $300 or $400. Anyway, I hope y'all understand what I'm saying, but let's get back to this just for a second so we can bring a little bit of clarity, and I'm going to show you the reason why I think the way I think, okay? Now, I'm going to read this particular paragraph from the beginning so we don't lose thought. For the last several months, we have warned about the pernicious effects of soaring prices on consumers. For instance, the University of Michigan's Economic Sentiment Survey shows that a number of people who say it's a good time to purchase a house has collapsed, as the price of lumber, copper, concrete, roof, labor, land, and almost everything screaming higher. Shown below is a survey matched against the NAHB survey, a home builder survey that rates market conditions for the sale of new homes and lumber prices. It's easy to spot as lumber prices soared. The home buyer sentiment surveyed crash. And I can't show you the graphs unless I was doing a live broadcast right now, but again, you'll get to see it in the link below. And don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to know more about basically the direction we're taking, a little bit more personal, in fact, you may want to come over and consider joining me over my Patreon, which that link will be down below too. But don't forget to hit the like and subscribe tab, okay? Another way home buyer intentions on a monthly change have plunged to the lowest level in 2 decades. And I told you it's happening like I said it was. Is that, and you go and watch. I don't care if you go to big cities, you go to these homes, you'll see these buildings all of a sudden they just stopped out of nowhere because nobody can pay those kind of prices. Nobody can pay that, including the big companies. They can't pay those kind of prices, and they're not doing it. Let me go down here. Okay, as buyers bulk at unprecedented lumber prices, Sawmills appear to be catching up with the demand that has been fueled by massive home building demand in North America. Thanks, Powell. And so-called supply shortages at lumber yards. Actively yesterday was a brisk start, turned lethargic, and ended quite subdued. William, whatever that last name is, who buys and sells eastern spruce with mills for Sherwood Lumber in Massachusetts, wrote in a note Friday, there was plenty of lumber available from the mills and enough ambition to sell. Missing was the sense of urgency from buyers, and buyers are not going to do it. Now, what's going to happen is that they got all this lumber backed up, and everything's backed up. So now people are going to be in competition to lower their prices to sell, and they're going to have to take a loss. And that loss could be 70 cents on a dollar, or 80 cents on a dollar, or 60 cents on a dollar. It could be somewhere anywhere in between there. They're not going to tell us, but they're all going to have to take a loss. Now, I'm going to tell you what we're going to be doing. Whatever storage places and stuff, and whatever building material we actually use the most of, when these prices drop this time, we're going to try to create our own particular lumber yard, because I know I got brothers all the time telling me, man, we all get a sawmill, we all do this. I hear them and I understand. The only problem is that they're not leaders of communities, they're not leaders of men. And most of the time when people think, they're not thinking about the whole. They don't think about everything that is involved. That's where I come in to play. And so it's a hell of a lot more cheaper to get lumber from the actual Lumber 84, Home Depot, and Lowe's than it is for us to go out there and spend the money for the sawmill, the time, energy, effort, and then you have to set up and let it cure and do all this other stuff. I mean, we will be out years before we could actually even really truly get any advantage on anything. So the ideal is just to know exactly when to buy. And I really wish that a lot of brothers would just, in certain instances like this, would just hold their opinion, but they're not going to do it. I mean, so I just pretty much ignore them and just continue to keep doing what I know what's right. Because, again, I study this stuff. And because I have a lot of people that depend on me for my direction, my wisdom, and my knowledge. And I'll say this again. I remember before all this happened, listen to me. I have Elder Rufus can back me up. Elder Mitch can back me up. All the brethren on the land can back me up, and they can tell you I'm telling the truth. I remember that I went out and I started buying decking board. I mean, I was just buying it and stacking it up. Now, I was going to use a lot of fences, right? But I stacked it up. I bought it. And then I bought like 4, 5, 6 pallets of OSB. I stacked it up, and it's still just sitting there in the shop, just sitting there. And I stacked it up. And when I bought that OSB, I bought like 400 or 500 sheets of OSB. I paid $5.85 a sheet for it. Does Pastor Dowell look like he's pretty wise right now? And mind you, that was over almost a year and a half, 2 years ago when I bought that at that price. You think about that now. Since then, I've been able to help communities instead of them going and buying that crazy price. $30, $40, $50 for a sheet of OSB, I could actually give it to them for the same price that I paid for it. And if they wanted to include an offering on top, they could. But see, that's the way we operate. And so what I need is I need more men that are leaders to start trying to pay attention to stuff like this. Because our choices and our decisions, it affects a lot of people. We've got a business down there in Georgia called Decks, Porches, and More. And they got people lined up they're paying the prices for these decks. And they ran out of decking board. And so I picked up the phone, I called Elder Rufus, said, Elder Rufus, how much you want? He said, what'd you say, Pastor? I said, how much you want? He said, Pastor, we need 116-foot decking boards. I said, get your truck and trailer and come on up and pick them up. He's like, what? I said, yeah. I probably have about 400, maybe 400 sticks of that stuff. I know I do, somewhere along there. And guess what? Even at the going rate and price and stuff, they were still able to make a good profit off that. But because the pastor, and this is the business side, it has nothing to do with being a pastor. This is the business side of running communities. I was able to see afar off, they were able to benefit from it. So I usually have to think well ahead. I give careful thought before I start putting money into big prices of stuff. I do a hell of a lot because stuff is expensive, and the dollar is falling in value. And I tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and let you finish for those you choose to, if you want to. I'm almost done with the article here, but I'll read just a little bit more. Okay, where are we at? Oh, okay, we're about 16 minutes, 17 minutes. Let me go and read a little bit more. U.S. lumber production has increased 5% over the past 12 months to meet the new demand, according to Domain Timber Advisors, LLC, the subsidiary of Domain Capital Group in Atlanta, Georgia, which adds another increase of 5%, is coming soon, and roughly 1 billion board feet. Even as lumber prices pull back from the stratosphere highs, BMO Capital Markets warn that prices may not return to pre-pandemic levels anytime soon. They're out of their damn mind. It is. They're out of their mind because they're not going to sit there. See, this right here is called a forked tongue and double tongue. They're not going to sit there and hold on all of this while supply is not in demand anymore because of the prices. You can create all this supply, and now they're backed up on supply, and people need it, but then they're not demanding this lumber. They're not demanding any of this whatsoever at all, because hopefully some people are listening to people like me, and they're not playing the game. Even at that, they're greater thinkers. They're saying, you know what? I'm not buying this stuff at this stuff. I want to do it in another way. I promise I am. That's even like us. We have the knowledge of building block buildings. And so what I usually do is especially when prices are high, I'd much rather build with concrete anyway. Is build stuff with concrete, because concrete, even though it's up a little bit in price, is nowhere near like lumber. Nowhere near. But it goes on to say, nose-bleeding prices won't last, but strong demand, a limited supply response, and a rising cost curve all point to above trend prices for at least the next 12 to 24 months. Well, okay, yeah. I mean, it's still going to keep coming down. You watch it, mark my words. The CEO, and then it gives this big old long name on what it is. One of the top lumber producers in the U.S. said lumber prices over 1,000 aren't expected to continue. See, now, there you go. That's somebody that's speaking logic and reason. He spoke at a recent NARET conference, but added home building and renovation boom could keep lumber prices somewhat elevated. And there is no boom. Anyway, I'll let y'all finish it right there. There's no boom. Building has done become stagnant. Period. Point blank. And how you know that? Because we're building, but we're mostly building with concrete and stuff. But we ain't building like went out the other day. I paid a little bit of money, and I'm telling you, it hurt bad when you looked at the amount of lumber that we paid for. No. Anyway, follow my advice. Learn to be careful. Study to be careful. All right. That's just my knowledge. That's my wisdom. Do what you want.